Well, it's about a woman who's running for her life across the border, who from Mexico to the U.S. And as she crosses the border, she encounters border patrols, and there is a Marine who's there with PTSD, and sort of everything goes wrong in that moment, and they end up fleeing together towards Los Angeles. So it's movie about freedom, love, death, with lots of music and dance. A drama with music and dance. You know, it was for me an opera that I grew up with that really stayed with me throughout the years. And when I was thinking, even in my early 20s, about the film I wanted to make, as I was making short films, dance films, it always stayed with me. And interestingly, it had to do with a lot of a response to sort of my growing up and family and my mother, and rewriting her story in some sense. This idea of this female protagonist who is reinvented in this case. It's a complete reimagining of Carmen with all new music, writing a woman who can love and be loved, and expresses her freedom through movement and song. I really felt, as I started to explore it, and talking about it with actually so it was Peter Sellers, actually, an opera director, friend of mine, and he said to me, "Oh my God, the story is so uninteresting and so bad. You have to completely reinvent it." And it was early on. I started to, I was agreeing with him, and he said, "You can't. This woman really essentially gets punished for her sins. It's a 19th century woman written by men who knew nothing about women," and I felt that it was right, and we wanted to also make it really contemporary and a story that people could relate to. The idea of this character that is fierce and independent has this form of strong expression, through her art of dancing and singing was really exciting, and wanted to reinvent it.
I am that woman, Carmen, that he's been talking about. You know, Carmen is such an iconic character. I think a lot of people that haven't even seen or heard the opera know that it exists and know that know the story of this like woman that is super bold and fearless and sensual, and I think the essence of the character is there in this movie, but it's, like Ben said, a reimagining of it. And I think in this case, this woman that is brave because she knows that she has to flee to save her life, is, encounters love and is driven by her heart the entire time. And so I think, as a Mexican woman playing a Mexican character that's living in a reality that a lot of people live in nowadays, it's a beautiful way to tell the story in this new way through music. I think we've seen a story of a woman like this, or people like this that have to like flee for safety, and it may feel tired. I know I, as a Mexican, feel like I've seen that story so many times, but the reason that I wanted to do this is because it's told in such a different way. And I think it's another way to kind of get through to people. If you like tell them this story about a reality, but in a romantic way, in a beautiful way, through music and dance, and through this like epic romance, it's another way of them to kind of like sit back, see it, and maybe think about it and think about what's going on.
Yeah, so I play the ExMarine. He's been on 2 tours to Afghanistan, and I don't know, what drew me to the role was kind of, in essence, there's something kind of inherently masculine about him, and there's a kind of physicality to Benjamin's language and the film's language, which I was like drawn to. But it's essentially about supporting Carmen's escape, and it was a story that moved me. I was interested in kind of the whole conceptual idea around it. But yeah, in essence, he's a ex-Marine with PTSD who falls in love with Carmen and tries to support her as much as possible. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think what was important, and the choreography, I did most of the choreography, but I also collaborated with a couple of choreographers. I mean, essentially the opening sections with Marina, which are flamenco and are not my wheelhouse. I structured it and obviously, created it with her, but and also the last sort of crumping section with the boxing at the end of the film. But otherwise, it was very important that the movement's always a response to the music. The music drove the creation of this film. Nick and I, Nicholas Britell wrote songs and dance early on, but even some score. I really, because in my work for the stage, I always draw my inspiration from music. This was the same way. The score gave me visual, ideas for visual language and atmosphere, and it was really part of the creative process. Now, the music, it's the same thing for my pieces for the stage. The language is mine. It has my energy, but it will vary whether I'm using Schubert, or Andy Akiho, as a composer that I just worked with recently, and also this was to be Carmen's language. She comes from this background, but she has a language of her own. She says it at one point in the film. I don't do what my mother does. I don't, and that had to be something special and something unique that is both a response to the music and response to like who she is and where she comes from.
Yeah, we shot in Australia in the middle of kind of 2020 tail end prime kind of COVID landscape, but it was a physical shoot. There was lots of dancing, but in essence, there's like a large section of the film. It's a road movie, so there's a kind of muscularity to that even. So it was hot, dusty, really enjoyable, kind of very much a film that I feel like we got to experience in our bodies, and I feel like a lot of times you can experience acting like from the shoulders up, and it's not that. I don't think that's a way that Benjamin likes to work, which I was really grateful for. It's like full body expression. So yeah.
I mean, yes to everything, and you're sounding very smart for this early in the morning. But yeah, it was a beautiful shoot. I think it was. You said that it really has like a sense of place, and I think it's because we were on the other side of the world making it, and we kind of all, because we weren't supposed to shoot it there. It was supposed to be shot in Mexico, and because of COVID, Ben went to Australia, scouted, and found that the landscape is very similar, and even the things that aren't similar would add to his idea of this being like a very like dream-like movie, and I just felt like I was on another planet, and I think that helped. I felt like I was in another world. I had never been to Australia, and when he told me we were shooting it there, I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I was a little bit worried because I was like, I'm Mexican. I know what Mexico looks like. And then I get there and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible, magical. It looks like Mexico, but also like heightened, the dirt is like red, and, a lot of like magical things that just supported Benjamin's vision and made it even more magical. And I think all of us being there in that bubble at that time helped to make this movie what it is.
It's really the movie is an experience. It's there's interestingly the way that the finished product is, it's not unsimilar to my work for the stage. It's the way that music and movement and physical expression. I mean, I think to think about like, again, the language of the dance, it had to be connected to the language of how Carmen moved in space as just a person. They're people dancing. They don't just become dancers in the moment where they have to perform. And so, it's really about, the best way is to not, in a way, analyze and think too much and really experience it as this connection of a visual world, movement and music and narration,
I think the movie, like Ben said, is an experience, and if an audience allows it to be that, it has a lot of power emotionally. I think it can be very moving, and I think it's a very like different movie. I think it's fresh because Ben has a fresh vision. I think nowadays a lot of films are kind of like, they have like a form that they're made, and I think Ben just kind of has his own thing. He's making his own style, and I think that's refreshing, and I hope that people see it as something different and unique.
Yeah, I just am really proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to be a part of something that feels incredibly unique and part of Ben's first feature film. So like, yeah, I don't know. I want people to go there with an open kind of mind and heart and experience it for the kind of formless, beautiful, like I feel like it's a film about freedom. Yeah, so